Our chalice lighting today is written by one of the best among us, Gail Henry, whose memorial service we'll be honoring and celebrating in this place next Saturday. Gail was a longtime member of our Finance Committee, and for years when we gathered in Finance Committee, we would remind ourselves that everything we do, not just everything we do on Sunday, but everything we do is sacred work. This was her chalice lighting, specifically designed for the River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation Finance Committee. Come on up, Maureen. We'll get you in just a second. She said, "Let us come together in fellowship with all of our truths and our doubts, with all of our worries and our hopes, doing work for the good of our community, and never forgetting that the respect and compassion we feel for each other is the underpinning of our purpose." May it be so. You know, each month at River Road, we have a particular spiritual theme that we grapple with in our life together on Sunday morning, in religious education, in our small groups, in all the ways we commit and recommit to one another. It's our practice at the beginning of the month to have a member of our board, no more dedicated volunteers in this congregation than the members of the board, to introduce that spiritual theme and to ground us in that work as we move ahead together. This morning, we are so honored to have a faithful, courageous board member, Maureen Beasley, to share our board welcome and our introduction to this month's theme. Maureen Beasley, who I am trying very hard not to get sick with this cold that is not COVID that I have. Maureen?
Good morning, everybody. I was so excited about the chance of being here today that I almost didn't make it. I was practicing my remarks, and so I let the time get away from me. But anyway, it is so nice to be back. I have the pleasure of representing the Board of Trustees as we start a new month of services under the general heading of interdependence. The topic seems drawn from the 7th principles of Unitarian Universalism, respect for the independent web of all existence of which we are a part. We generally think of this principle in terms of relationship to the physical environment and human, non-human interaction, but for a minute or two, I would like for us to think of it in terms of our congregational community, RRUUC itself. To me, this institution of RRUUC represents a web with our beautiful building here, inspiring ministers, and hardworking staff at the center, drawing all of us in like a diligent spider to I hope you don't mind the analogy. to weave a silken cradle-to-grave tapestry of ideas and ideals that give a special meaning to our lives. In nature, a spider web is made of silk. That is one of the strongest and most versatile materials in the world. To philosophers and artists, the spider web, represents balance and harmony. In some faith traditions, the spider is an ancient symbol of mystery, power, and regeneration. Now, my husband and I have been members of this congregation since 1974, long before many of you were born. Medical circumstances and the health of my husband do not permit me to be here every Sunday, but I see all of you. I am one of the 50 of us or so who faithfully watch this service on Zoom. Now, this technical contact with RRUC represents one of the many strands of our web that encompasses the cradle to grave. Look, we have dedication of children. We have a strong religious education program, more and more centered, I think, on families. We have numerous opportunities for those in the prime of their lives to engage in social action, as well as spiritual, intellectual growth, and not to be overlooked, to make good friends with others who have the similar ideas. And then there is a final resting place right out here for our ashes in the Memorial Garden. So we do have a web here of interdependence, but spiders and their webs also signify change. No doubt many of you are familiar with the children's classic Charlotte's Web. Charlotte, the spider heroine, is not able to escape death. Unfortunately, none of us are. But happily, Charlotte leaves behind 514 children. Now, I doubt many of us are able to reach that goal, if there is such a goal. However, of Charlotte's children in the story, 3 stayed in her barn to follow her example and build their webs. And I would like to think, it's a joy for me to think at my age in life, and I trust for you too, to know that when we personally are no longer here, some of our children still will be building this RRUUC web. But wait, will they? Webs take patience, dedication, and planning. They just do not happen in sudden and isolated bursts of activity, no matter how generous and good-hearted this activity is. This is where the budgeting process comes in. Yes. I bet you thought I was going to get there eventually. A budget is an actual plan that makes sure RRUUC is building a web that will last. Right now, our current fund drive, upon which we will base next year's budget, is moving along toward its goal of $960,000. Right now, we have pledges of $767,000 from 195 pledge units. The board wishes to express heartfelt appreciation for those who have pledged. Yet, we have not heard from a sizable number of congregants. Last year, we received 282 pledges. So in terms of numbers of pledges, we are running nearly 100 behind last year's total. Goodness. Well, now I can only guess why so many have not yet pledged, but I'll offer one theory. Perhaps it is doubt over commitment to organized religion, even one as open and tolerant as this one is. Now, we know the spider analogy has both good and bad connotations. It is so easy these days to become disillusioned with religion when we have a prominent political figure, I won't use the name, angrily setting up a religiously based web with himself at the center, and many would say that represents a poisonous spider. That's not what we're about. To us, there is no alternative to building a strong web of personal connection right here at RRUUC, and that includes the pledging to finance it and make sure the web continues. If we wish to affirm allegiance to an institution that offers care for each of us and hope for the future. Of course, we ourselves have to generate that care for each other, but we need the support of an institution in order to do that, in my opinion. Our net needs all of us in its interdependent strands. Thank you.
You all, I think Maureen just preached a whole sermon. And the only way to respond is with our voices risen in praise, you know? Our hymn is when our heart is in a holy place, and it refers not just to the physical place in which we are gathered, but the spiritual place from which we give and connect and serve in this bleeding and hurting world. Please rise in body or in spirit when our heart is in a holy place, with lyrics right back there behind you. That was me fake singing, which went pretty good, I think. Like a mime act is what that was, but you all sounded amazing. Our prophetic voices today is from filmmaker Greta Gerwig. Now, Greta Gerwig was born and raised and identifies to this day as, guess what? A Unitarian Universalist. And you may know her indeed as the writer and the director, the creative vision behind what? Barbie! The Barbie movie, the cultural juggernaut changing the world all around us. One of the big themes in that movie, there are many, is that you and I and Maureen and all of us are enough. Gloria, the character played beautifully by America Ferrera, lists the many ways in which our society expects so much of us, maybe more than any of us could ever produce. Those expectations are so exhausting and actually impossible. This is true for people of all ages. In school, as a kid, you are often expected to be so much, aren't you? You're expected to be like cool, calm, and collected at all times, even when you don't feel that way. You're expected to be a good student, which often gets interpreted as only good at tests. Have you ever felt that? You're expected sometimes to be good at all sorts of subjects, including the ones you don't really like, to be good at sports, to be nice to everybody all the time, and I am not good at that. You are expected to be happy even when you do not feel happy, and doing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of after-school activities and hobbies. This pressure to be good at so many things and to demonstrate it all as if it is a contest is perhaps no more acute in any place in this whole country than right here, where we live and try to be excellent all the darn time. There are service learning hours to be earned. There are exhausting ways to show that you are worthwhile. And so Greta Gerwig's message is that you are enough just by being you. And we have a clip to show you from a behind-the-scenes piece called Bringing Barbie to the Big Screen, so that you can see here Unitarian Universalist prophet Greta Gerwig showing her vision for the fact that we are enough in her very own words.
You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough.
I want to give people a sense of like, you're okay and you have value just as you are. It is not something you earn or you need to achieve. You want to celebrate everything women have done, but we also don't want to be saying like, unless you do that, you haven't done enough. I think that in a way, symbols like Barbie are important to be able to reflect back the enoughness of just being a girl, being a woman, being a person.
Thank you.
And I think that's what I wanted to explore in this movie.
Did you see Ken say thank you? Because just being Ken is good enough too. No keeping score, nothing to tell us we've done enough because we are enough already just the way we are. If you have not listened to it yet, my goodness, what rock have you been hiding under? Your homework is to go home and find the performance of the classic song I'm Just Ken at the Grammy Awards and listen to that man kill that song. I am just Ken, and I'm great at doing stuff. I'm just Ken, you're just you, I'm just Nancy, we're just us. And our UU values tell us that each and every person, no matter how tired we are, no matter how sick we are of performing our worth for everyone else, has all the inherent worth and dignity we'll ever need. Our principle does not say, if you do this, and you do that, and you do that other thing, then you will be enough. Our principles say that just being ourselves is enough. And as our children and our teachers head out to their classes, and we stay here in this service to affirm one another's inherent worth and dignity, I hope we are blessed by this UU prophet and by that plastic Ken doll to know that you and you and you and me are enough. It is a complicated time in this world for any of us to feel like we are enough. It is a complicated time in this world for any of us to feel like we are doing enough in the face of the desolations faced across nations and across the world today. This week, we know that we grieve the fact that 7 workers with Chef Jose Andres, a DC luminary, 7 workers with his World Central Kitchen, which has been one of the primary avenues for feeding starving people in Gaza, were killed in the midst of their vital efforts, making it so terrifying to provide that simple service of bringing water to the desert places and food to those who are starving, that both World Central Kitchen and ANIRA, a longtime partner, the Near East Refugee Alliance, which has been the second most prolific feeder of people in those desert places, both of those organizations suspended their efforts to provide food support in Gaza this week. The question that has rung in my mind in the wake of this latest pain is simply this: who will help the helpers? Our prayer in these days is that all those who seek to help might find the support and the care they need to take the greatest risks over and over again. We also, in this time of joys and concerns, share the commingled joy and concern at the abundant life and the great grief at the loss of Gail Henry, whose service we will honor right here at River Road on the 13th of April at 5 o'clock. Please come. It'll be a celebration of her abundant life. And finally, it is my joy, my absolute joy, to let you know that while Reverend Amanda, has announced her upcoming departure from River Road, the deal is now full and finally sealed. She has been invited with great joy to be the candidate as the new senior minister at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Reverend Amanda will be with us through the end of June. We are so honored that her ministry was forged in the beautiful and loving crucible that is this place. It is the best possible scenario, both for her and for them. What a blessing to be one another's people. You know, of course, that you are invited to share your joys and your concerns, whatever is in the silent sanctuary of your heart, by lighting a candle here or in the back at any time during today's service. As we enter into some space for meditation, for peace in the midst of the storm, I offer, instead of a prayer, a poem by Kathleen Henderson Stout, a poem about a grace that volunteers unbidden to bring beauty into this broken world. The poem, The Volunteer. The tree sprang up, a volunteer, after we lost the shade of the oak that came down. It grew out of a thicket in the corner of the yard during the busy years when we were not paying attention. Then suddenly one spring, at cherry blossom time, the yard filled up with blossoms. Never invited, never fed nor tended, now the upstart cherry tree spreads above the house, offering its shade beyond the patio wall. In June, its fruit draws birds who stay to nest. All summer long, its glossy leaves shelter hidden songs. In August and September, as the cricket song begins, the cherry leaves are deepening to early autumn green. Then turn yellow one by one, they drift to the earth, early heralds of the seasons turning. In winter, snow and icy drops along its naked limbs expose the gangly, twisted shape of that untended, weedy tree, its branches without an ounce of symmetry, unlovely, growing free. We never would have chosen it or planted it there. Yet in February light, its bark shines silver bronze, reminding us of unsought gifts that bring us exactly what we need. Unplanted, untended, steadily there always, the grace that volunteers. We have been so incredibly lucky this stewardship season to be blessed with pretty much the best stewardship videos that you could imagine from actual professionals that know what they are doing in video editing. And because, that's right, thank you. Because in this place we have never been about the business of performing our perfection, because we have always been more about connection than perfection, our final stewardship video that we will share with you before we take up our offering is indeed our blooper reel. I'll explain more after the video about the ways in which you can both give and pledge to sustain the interconnected web of this place, but for now, if you needed any evidence of our imperfection, let it roll.
Okay, we're rolling. Shot look okay?
Dad's head getting cut off.
Does it look okay? Yeah. Okay, we're rolling, and we're looking at you. So can you
All right, sit down.
sit down and just look at us, and we're gonna look at.
Okay. Hi. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
For helping us out there. And just a lot of thinking through, like listening to people, talking to different members of the congregation.
And how long have you been coming to River Road?
Since 2017, so that's not 3 years. 6, 8,
Skip the math part.
7 years.
Also, the building committee working with the building committee very closely, they took a ton of time and effort to make sure that it was done properly as well.
I kind of feel like that's part of my job. So many toys.
Stop touching things! Holy crap, you're worse than the kids. I think it's just a really great
Okay, let's do that again. That's
Come on in. Come on. I have one more question.
Sure.
Okay, since you're doing the editing, you probably know your name and how to spell it.
I do.
awesome.
Land and Labor Acknowledgement Task Force. So we are acknowledging, but can I start over?
Anytime, it's all, we edit everything. Yeah.
Just give me the, if it's.
That sounds, yeah. Listen, if I can't hold their attention with a woman just walking around in the background with coffee, then what am I doing here?
Do you have questions or am I just talking? You know why I'm here? Yes. You.
Okay, so let's start with, how would you describe River Road to someone who is either a newcomer or never been here before? And what's your favorite part about coming on Sundays?
We already did that one.
You did. And it's coffee hour.
Oh, we did say that.
I do like coffee hour, yeah.
Good job, bud.
Okay.
All right.
Can we be clear that Quinn's favorite part is coffee hour? Which I think he's not alone. There are so many ways that we can give to sustain the life of this congregation, and indeed, as we are in the midst of our pledge season, you can pledge online. There's a green button, Pledge Now. You can contact our stewardship committee. You can talk to folks after the service today. We have a giant cake with our stewardship logo on it. Please eat the cake and make your pledge, and then eat more cake, because we think we may have ordered too much. All of the ways that we give are an expression of who it is we want to be in the world together. And in this time of offering, as we are blessed once again by the extraordinary music that we create together, we hope you might give and pledge and remember this place in your work and in your heart. drinking tea out of my Make America Kind Again mug, everybody. I learned that here. I have always considered myself to be quite entirely and resolutely bad at math in ways that are culturally conditioned around gender and honestly entirely ungenerous to myself. This being bad at math has been a part of my internal monologue and my externally expressed identity for as long as I can remember. It is perhaps my greatest phobia that someone will ask me to do math out loud and on the spot in public. Nothing could be more mortifying for me, even still, than being asked to rattle off multiplication tables with half the facility of a well-practiced fourth grader. In mini golf, I am undone by the task of keeping score and will goof off incessantly in the merest hope that someone else, anyone else, preferably Cliff, will volunteer to hold that tiny little pencil and keep the tally. In a game of cards, good Lord, I am letting the cat out of the bag, but I am a great person to invite into your poker game, both because I have no poker face and because you will immediately take all of my money, given that I cannot or will not keep track of what cards have been played and what still might be yet to be played. You see, being bad at math, it mostly gets me out of games I do not really want to play in the first place. This works out well for me because the honest truth is that, especially and perhaps paradoxically for a lifelong athlete, I am not really a particularly competitive person. I am not motivated by the entire idea of winning, partly because I am perennially prone to deconstructing the entire concept. What is winning, anyway? At cards, at life, at elementary school, who in the end really is keeping score and who decided that any of it, all of this, the whole shebang, who decided without consulting me that it was ever a contest? What if it isn't a contest? And every single one of us, no matter how the game goes, deserves orange slices and juice boxes at the end of it. You see, I am bad at math, and perhaps as a justification for that particular self-identity, I have always been on the lookout for ways of living that do not attempt to quantify or essentialize the human experience. Now, I do not want to spend this entire sermon trashing mathematics. I know it is the language of the spheres and the hidden code of the universe and all that. I know that it is one nearly universal method of communication that needs no translation the whole world over. I know that if one is to believe the movies, smart people close their eyes and see differential calculus floating in the blank space behind their eyelids. All this may well indeed be true. I am glad you are good at math. I am glad that you are good at the math that remind you, as Maureen told us, that if we do not give to the organizations and people we care about, those organizations and people cannot support themselves. Seriously, it's pledge drive season. But still, always I am on the lookout for ways of being in this world that do not endeavor to tell us what we have earned, or indeed anything at all so absurdly graceless and often deadly as what we deserve. As the theologian Kate Bowler put it, the language of the world's math is a language of entitlement. It is the careful math of deserving, meted out as painstakingly as my sister and I used to inventory and trade our Halloween candy. In this world, I deserve what I get, I earn my keep, and I keep my share. When interacting with the world in this way, we are at risk of becoming consumers of the Spirit, We wonder with a hint of bitterness, is my prayer life, my spiritual life, giving back what I put into it? Is my religious community offering equal and opposite reward for my gifts of time, talent, and treasure? Are my friends giving as well as they get? And is the God of my understanding able to deliver what I deserve in exchange for the good deeds I share in this world? Thus, when we are too busy keeping score, which sometimes we are, when we are too eager to make sure that we and everything around us gets what we believe we and they and everyone else deserves, life becomes a kind of grand arithmetic. What we put in tallies along one side, noticed and not forgotten, most especially by ourselves. What we get out tallies along the other, our gifts and the benefits of our good deeds, and we try desperately, desperately over and over again, usually in our most intimate of relationships, to crunch those numbers, invariably embittered when it does not all come out even in the end. Since I am bad at math, sometimes I wonder what would happen if we let go of all of that attachment and that fear and that score keeping. What if we tossed every little golf pencil over our shoulder into the void and stopped keeping score altogether? All of that hard-edged performance of our worthiness. What if, as Brené Brown once said, we all stopped hustling for our worth and decided instead to do the work that is ours to do? What would happen if we let go of that attachment to proving things and demanding proof from others and tried to meet life as it is with some faith that even if we never do get what we deserve, even if the bad guy in the story never gets his comeuppance, even if the cosmic equation might never be balanced and the relational scales might never even out, it's okay. Because it's not a contest, and it never has been. Because nobody is actually keeping score, and there is beauty in that. Because even reputation is a socially constructed trap, and respectability itself is something we invented that we consent to because it works to organize our relationships, but not because it is on some fundamental level actually real. Math is real, but the proof of our own worth, the final evidence that we deserve things, the scorecard at the end, personally, theologically, spiritually, for me, those things have always been fictive at best, horribly deadly at worst. Take this moment that Maureen so artfully brought us to see in her reflections today. Take this moment in the political and even spiritual life of this bleeding world. As right-wing demagogues nominally aligned with the intersecting forces of religious and nationalist identity make plays for power in governments across this world, including our own. We call it religious nationalism, in this country Christian nationalism, but it is really just a calculated series of power plays. Each grievance or fear or deep-harbored judgment inserted into the equation until all of the sudden authoritarian mobsters are hashtag winning their way into the seats of greatest influence in this world and summarily judging people and communities as worthwhile collateral damage on the other side of every horrible equation. All of it. The math of demagoguery, the arithmetic of religious nationalism in all of its forms, all of it is utterly dependent on one central idea, that being that there is not now and never has been and never will be enough. not enough land, not enough food, not enough security, not enough power, not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough, until everything, every scrap of everything that is, including human life, is to be hoarded and protected and defended and killed for only so long as it is on your own side of that cosmic ledger sheet. Because I am bad at math, I am a Unitarian Universalist, part of a tradition that believes truly that dignity and worth are not, in fact, limited resources. That I can be me without you losing you. In the words of the Reverend Norbert Czapek, a Polish Unitarian who gave nearly everything away to further the notion that beauty and grace and joy and love are not matters of reciprocity, this is the heart of our faith. Ours is a faith of radically expansive grace. As Universalists, we do not believe in hell. We do not believe in ultimate and divinely sanctioned comeuppance. We don't believe there is a heavenly scorekeeper who is holding the golf pencil and keeping the score. We do, however, believe that grace is real and that getting what we deserve is so much less luminous than seeing this world and every person in it for the unquantifiable blessing that we are, even in and through the pain. There are great contemplative religious traditions in this world who try to glimpse or to grasp that unquantifiable grace, who try to help us make meaning out of the fact that this universe may never be fair, but that does not mean it is any less beautiful. There are contemplatives and mystics who invite us to experience for only a moment the luminous beauty of this unfair, unbalanced world and to fight for justice anyway. Among them, in my own life, there is one of America's great contemplative masters, the Cistercian brother Thomas Merton, who lived out most of his life in a tiny clapboard hermitage not far from where I grew up. He lived in Louisville, Kentucky, of all places. And one day, normal among all the other days, it just so happened that Thomas Merton, let out of his clapboard hermitage, had an epiphany that others travel to mountaintops and sacred places to find. An epiphany about the nature of all of us that would guide his movement from that day forward, as both a person working for social justice in an unbalanced world and a person seeking spiritual sustenance. It was 1958, and Merton was just out on a walk, perhaps shopping or something. I suppose monks do that too, in an unkempt part of downtown Louisville, chock full with all the sights and sounds and smells of an urban environment in mid-century America. Somehow, by grace or happenstance or a certain slant of light and confluence of glory, Merton found himself stopped dead in his tracks randomly at the corner of 4th and Walnut in downtown Louisville. It was not a special corner. Imagine a laundromat or a service station. Imagine people hurrying to and fro from all the things we hurry to and fro from. And he was stopped dead in his tracks in that moment in 1958, he said, by the unimaginable glory of it all. In his indelible words, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all these people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun. If only they could see themselves as they really are. If only we could see each other that way all the time, there would be no more war, no more hatred, no more cruelty, no more greed. I suppose the big problem would be that we would fall down and worship one another. And even today, on the corner of 4th and Walnut in Louisville, Kentucky, I wonder if occasionally two pedestrians might notice each other conspicuously not crossing the street in a timely fashion, looking deeply and dreamily at the people passing by, privy to the very thing that everybody else seems unable to notice, the unbounded grace and beauty of every soul that is not now, never has been, and never will be a scarce resource. I've done this, you know. Stood there on 4th and Walnut in Louisville and looked dreamily at all my fellow pedestrians. It was really creepy, probably, but I did it anyway. For the most part, our lives, our jobs, our politics, even our biology conspire in 1,000 ways to force us into a certain type of mathematical encounter with every single person we meet. An encounter founded on an economy of scarcity that tells us we had better get ours before they get it from us. I am not so idealistic nor so foolish as to imagine we can or even should tear down the overwhelming forces of competition and domination in this world. I am not personally throwing in the towel and going off the grid to live in a hermitage, and neither would I suggest that for the vast majority of you. What I am saying is that this forceful manifestation of competition and of scarcity and of winning at all costs, even this often gentle but still oppressive force of framing all of our relationships as reciprocal exchanges, it is not the only way to live. It may be the primary way our culture invites us to relate to each other, but it is not the only way. The great theologian and activist Sister Joan Chittister once wrote that in the spiritual world, down is up and up is down. In her words, the goals and values of the spiritual life, in other words, are just plain different from the goals and values we've been taught by the world around us. Winning, owning, having, consuming, and controlling are not the high posts of the spiritual life, and this is the basis for the social revolution most needed in the modern world. It is possible, maybe only in moments at the deepest levels of our faith, to encounter an economy beyond the arithmetic of exchange, what theologians sometimes call an economy of grace. In an economy of grace, you feed the hungry. In an economy of grace, we give not because someone told us to, but because it's the right thing to do. And in an economy of grace, I do not have to get what I deserve to get everything and more than I could ever ask for in this world. There is another way, grounded in a fundamentally different spiritual reality. And if we can live in it for some part of every day, it doesn't matter if I'm bad at math, because it doesn't have to balance out anyway. And if I ever, God help me, got what I deserved, it would be so much less luminous than the shining of your faces on a morning like this, in a place we've built together, with work stretching out that is uniquely ours to do. No amount of effort can convince you that you are worth more than the sum total of your output. There is only the hope that I and you and all of us might go from this place and move out into a world of pain and grace, at least occasionally capable of letting go of the equations dancing before our eyes and meeting each person and each moment with an unbounded spirit of abundant grace. unbounded and abundant with 4 hands on that piano. Thank you, Cliff and Schwei and the River Oak Choir this morning. Thank you, thank you. I also want to thank our tech team. We've got Dave and Marcia, Danny and Ajay, the whole gang up there today. Thank you for making it happen. And there are so many ways to get connected to the work that we share in this congregation and in the world. Work that takes these fundamental values out into that world in a desire to serve, to make what difference we can. Firstly, please go eat the cake at coffee hour. It's enormous. We need help. Also, Earth Ministries Spring Climate Reset workshops begin this Tuesday. You can sign up right now to learn how to reduce your carbon footprint and advocate for environmental policies both right here in Montgomery County, at the state level in Maryland, and around the country. We have done the research to help you know what can, in a targeted way, make the most difference, and we'd like to be able to share that with you. Our annual all-congregation retreat, which is a multi-generational opportunity for fun and for just enjoying one another's company. Registration is open now. It'll be a weekend of games, workshops, outdoor fun, April 27th and 28th. You can see in the eWeekly and online how to sign up. And we do not have to drive across the Bay Bridge anymore to go to the all-congregation retreat, so the barriers are much fewer these days. Also, Actions for Justice is very, very busy and will be busy through the fall. Right now, we're hosting a Postcards for Democracy writing party next Sunday, April 14th. You can join after the service or pick up the materials and write from the convenience of your home. And next Sunday is a newcomers brunch. If you're feeling new, you're invited. And it doesn't matter, like nobody's doing the math about whether in fact you are actually new. Just come. We would love to have you. If you're seeking a sense of more connection here in this place, please join us. Contact Natalie Shaw to RSVP just so we have enough food. This is an opportunity also to sign our membership book, to consider yourself one among this merry and sometimes unruly band of travelers. Please do find out more again in the eWeekly. We are so blessed when every new person contributes their threads to the tapestry we weave in this place. And so as we prepare to take this light we have kindled out into the waiting world, may the truth that makes us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away. Amen.